And we just put it there today.
Get a halo here, put some wings on it, and be in good shape.
Wings pop up.
Yeah. I like it. That's good.
Okay, once again, we're back with Tom and my friend Mark, and he's sort of sitting in today, and we're going to talk about Tom's angel experiences today for you. And he's had a lot of them, but we'll start back to his first one, because you haven't heard that story yet, and it's a good one. So Tom, explain that when you first saw your first angel, what was around that? It was an angel on a motorcycle, right?
Well, technically, I've been able to see my angel. No, I could hear him. Yeah, hear him, but I really couldn't see him. But basically what happened was I was all of a sudden was able to see angels with everyone else, and then I could talk to them.
Now, when exactly did you see your first angel? I mean, what month? It was this year, right?
Yeah.
2016. So what month was it?
I've been able to hear God talk to me pretty much. Well, that started, quickly. There was, I heard one word once. I was sitting in front of a B of A, and then all of a sudden I heard this like 2 or 3 sentences. And I thought to myself, well, that was wild. I wonder if I just talk to myself. When I hear things, it's not like I don't hear an audible, but it was like a dialogue in your head. You ever like talk to yourself in your head? Well, that's what it started out with. And then that was like, I think it was on a Saturday. And the next Sunday, I was sitting there on a couch worshiping. I worship by listening to music. And then I heard his voice talk to me for about a paragraph. But it's like an internal dialogue, and the voice is almost like a computer voice, no emotion associated with it. Well, anyway, long story short, I had that for a number of months. I got kind of angry at God for a reason. It's kind of hard to describe, but and then basically an angel introduced himself, and he told me his name, and it was Zachariah. I call him Zach for
You're allowed to tell us all that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just asked him, and he said, "Go ahead."
Okay.
So basically, so that started, and then I went on for months like that, and then actually I heard God back again. I think because it's a long story, I'll have to talk about it another time. I've had some issues with authority, and since God's one of the biggest authorities, my trust issues. It's kind of silly, but it's true. So anyway, long story short, and then God came back one time, and he was almost very commanding. He said, "Hello, Tom," and it kind of shocked me because he had a lot more command in his voice.
Now, were you hearing this audibly, or just like voices in your head, or how do you hear God?
It's not audible. It's almost like, you ever talk to yourself and you're weighing a choice, making a decision, a little dialogue that goes on inside your head. That's what it sounds like. That level of clarity. But it's crystal clear. When I talk, I can hear them as clearly as you and I talk.
Oh, wow.
There's as much dialogue. There's as much, and it's kind of funny. Over time, the voice has changed. It started out pretty much that I couldn't tell emotional content at all, but I could hear. It'd be like a computer voice you hear for like that fellow. Poor fellow in a wheelchair that has a computer voice, Stephen Hawkins.
Stephen Hawkins, yeah.
It kind of sounded like that, but it wasn't mechanical sounding, but it was basically no emotional tone. But over time, I've since learned how to associate emotion with the voice. I think the way this works is that we have this is a physical realm and there's a spiritual realm, and in that spiritual realm, it's a separate, completely different realm. You actually have a spirit body with spirit senses, and those senses basically communicate information. But the information going from the spirit realm to the physical realm is almost like a translational matrix. It's like it goes through your mind, or I don't even know how it gets translated. But basically, abstract concepts are translated into your head. And I've come to realize when you hear a voice, or at least when I hear a voice, it's not like somebody calling on a telephone and talking to you like that. It doesn't work that way. It's like information, like a concept's presented, and sometimes your mind translates it. And the reason why I bring up that distinction, like sometimes, if you're tired and you can't think of names and things like that, well, like sometimes the voice will talk to me, and it'll say it's like it can't hear a name that I'm trying to think of. It's because my mind is tired and it won't make the translation.
So what you're saying is, in our physical sense here, we have, our senses of taste, smell, hearing, eyesight. But in the spiritual sense, we also have senses, but they don't directly translate into our physical senses.
Exactly, but they're close.
But they're close, okay.
I mean, like a sound like sound would come across, and the closest sense that we have in this realm to that realm would be hearing.
Okay.
So you'd say you hear it.
Okay.
So that's what I perceive. Although I have noticed it seems like hearing senses are it seems like the visual senses are more complicated, and it takes more information to translate it.
Okay.
Like when I also can see in the spirit, and a lot of times when I see in the spirit, it's like having seen a movie 10 times. You know it real well, and you go back through the movie in your head. That's the level of clarity that I see with. But sometimes with hearing things, now the voice is almost clear enough to where I don't actually hear it, but I can tell as much information as though a person was talking to me. I can tell the emotional content. I can tell when they're exasperated. I can tell when they're upset. And it's funny, but God He has the same emotions we do, or more accurately, we have the same emotions He does. And people, it's amazing, but He gets exasperated, He gets frustrated, He gets like, come on, Tom, you aren't really listening. You know? And He makes that clear. Or He loves jokes. I would sometimes...
God loves jokes?
Yeah. I
Cool.
can tell you some of the jokes He's done. Okay, this might be kind of funny ones. This is one of my favorite jokes.
Okay.
God, a lot of times when He talks to you, a big part of the communication, at least in my life, has been to build up your sense of self-esteem. Because a big part that I've come to realize about your life is how you view yourself, your sense of self-worth, your sense of value, your sense of importance. It all determines what happens in your life. Just like if you view God as a loving person who's going to bless you, and at every opportunity, every situation is going to be, you're going to receive a blessing. Life tends to unfold that way.
Is that how God wants us to see ourselves?
Yeah, it's not only that, but it's the way the universe works. That if any type of emotion coming from love is a positive, is actually like praying to God. It's like it's faith. Any thought that comes from fear, it's like a negative emotion. It's anti-faith. That's what I've come to realize.
Wow.
So if you view things fearfully, things tend to manifest. I think that's where psychology gets the idea of positive thinking. Is from this concept that we have the creative role in our life. And like sometimes someone who's very prosperous is because they believe that at every opportunity things are going to work out. But they believe it in their heart, not in their head. And that's a whole other topic. But essentially, that's like what God has tried to teach me is two basic themes, that I'm loving and lovable, and He wants me to see myself the way He sees me, as someone He loves. And it's surprising how many of us don't see ourselves that way.
Does He see just you that way, or does He
Everybody.
see all of us?
Everybody.
Mark, me, He all sees us as loving, that He loves us, and
He loves
really
us,
wants the
that we're
best for
special.
us,
He sees us only
Wow.
in the most positive light. And He doesn't. I don't think He sees us with sin. And again, this is a whole other issue. This is my, based on the Father Heart concept, which I could talk about at some other time. But basically, well, it's kind of complicated, but essentially...
So He's not the judge up there who wants to spank us all the time.
Yeah.
He would rather just bring us in His arms. And the best explanation I heard of that is, in a father-son, a father sees his son do something wrong, and but instead of waiting to pounce on his son, waiting for him to do something wrong, he's just like, son, come here. What you did wasn't right, but come here. I just want to give you a hug and love you. So God is that sort of the way God works?
I think so. I mean,
something like that?
I think God is much closer to a friend that wants to help you to develop a relationship with Him, and that rather than as a judge that's going to condemn you for anything you've done wrong.
But that's how you've experienced it.
That's how I've experienced. That's how I've directly experienced it. That's how the Father Heart message talks about love. It's God as a father, and tell you the truth. The funny thing is, He likes to hang. I mean, it's amazing, but I guess we make jokes sometimes. If you toss sons around all day, man, you just want to kick back and relax. And I get the feeling He's much more inclined to be a buddy with somebody, to sit and chat with you, to crack jokes, and a much more casual relationship than He wants worshipers.
No, in our talking, that's what you've told me several times, is God would much rather have a buddy that He can just converse with a lot, rather than just have somebody on Sunday morning come in and give Him worship.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that God doesn't love to worship us, but He gets lots of worship. I mean, God doesn't have an ego. I mean, He really wants to be friends. I mean, it's like when He says He wants to be your son, it's not a figurative thing. At least not in my experience with Him. Yeah. It's a literal thing. He wants a buddy. If even more importantly, He wants a son who can treat him as a friend.
Well, tell us about some of these direct experiences. I mean, when has God just like, hey, I want to be your buddy?
Wow, all the time.
All the time. Okay.
All right, I'll tell you.
How
this.
often do you talk to him?
I talk to him every day, probably a couple hours a day at least, of just chatting with him.
Sort of like we're chatting. I mean, that type of a relationship, or
Literally,
Really?
there's no difference.
wow.
The quality, the nature of the relationship is exactly like I'm talking with you.
So you can sort of talk to him almost all day long then.
I could, and he always wants to talk with me, and
Wow.
it's funny because sometimes he'll do something that awes me, and sometimes then I'll get a little intimidated because I didn't have any real Christian grid, so or no religious grid. So I think to a certain extent, once I wrap my head around the fact that God exists, I didn't feel like the awe that some people do. I get some feelings. Some people view God with such reverence, but it's really they're viewing with fear. It's real hard to develop a buddy, a friendship with someone that is throwing around stars and is the king of the universe. At least it would be for me, man. It's a little intimidating, and God just doesn't want to be seen that way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not about to call him a dumb shit or something. I mean, I'm not stupid, but surprisingly, he's patient, and he'll tell me sometimes when I get frustrated, do you want to yell at me? Go ahead. And
I've done that before.
literally, he does.
Hey, Mark, have you ever yelled at God
Guilty,
before?
yeah, I've been angry at God. No, I was just thinking that song, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus."
Yeah,
Yeah.
He said he wants to be a friend. That's one of my all-time favorite songs because it just gets to the heart of the matter.
and it's true.
Yeah.
It's not just words. He really wants to be friends. At least it's like I remember once. This is a joke, and it cracks. He's doing it all the time. I remember once he was kind of he'll say things to kind of build up your sense of self-esteem and self-worth, and it's really wonderful because he's always saying things encouraging and positive. It's like having a loving father that just wants the best from you, and it's funny. He always asks questions. I said, well, God, you know the answer to that. He said, yeah, but if I told you I knew the answer, what kind of conversation would we have?
One-sided.
Yeah, then you're going to be scared, and then it's all over. So he talks to me just like anybody else would.
Okay.
If anything, he's more patient, he's more calm. Although there's a couple times when he'll raise his voice, and it's amazing how effectively you'll listen. That's happened a couple of times where he'll put a little more weight behind his words, and there's a couple of times when that happened where he didn't scare me, but it was like the fear of God. The
Can
expression
you give
of
an
fear of God.
example, a direct example? Can you remember anything?
Well, I can. I mean, okay, when my angel introduced himself, it went about like 4 months where I never talked to God, and it was actually the day of the eclipse. I don't know why this happened. I know it's funny. I know
A direct connection there, yeah.
Yeah, it's significant. I think it might have been a coincidence or something. But then I think he came back and started talking with me, and he said, "Hello, Tom," or something like that. And just the way he said it was like he kind of like got my attention, and I kind of scared me a little bit, but not really fear. But I guess the point was that's the first
You had
time
to talk to him for 4 months, you said, right?
And it's almost as though I really believe he actually wanted the angel to talk to me, because I didn't view him as God. I viewed him as one of the guys, and I didn't blame him for things because he does what he's told.
The angel.
The angel.
Okay.
So basically, it got around my frustration. See, the thing is, I've oftentimes been upset with God for the condition of the world.
Okay.
I mean, it always bothered me. I said, well, if you're like Harry Truman, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
I said, well, God, I could, basically, the idea that, that all the horrible things that go on. And if Satan's so bad, why don't you just take him out? That's what I would do. And it's more complicated, and God and I have talked about that, which we can save for another topic. But the thing is, I've always felt a sense of a little upsetness with all the horrible things going on in the world. And I said, well, how can God allow this to happen? Mm-hmm. And I think to me a little bit, I've had authority issues. I don't know why exactly. Well, I guess I kind of have a suspicion. But so since he's the ultimate authority, God kind of knew I was pissed at him. Because the adversary will manipulate things that you are. So he introduced the angel, and I became friends with the angel, and then basically he gradually kind of redeveloped a relationship. And now,
But you could with the angel because he was more like a buddy. You
Yeah.
didn't see that authority hanging over you.
No,
and
I didn't.
So you could be more of a buddy, and that's why you talked with the angel for 4 months instead of God.
I think so.
Because you're looking at God as this authority, and it's just like, okay, I can talk to him, but only in this type of a way of, you're this big, huge authority up there, and you're probably going to pound me one of these days. But this angel, he's cool. I can just talk with him.
Yeah, he was a buddy, and it's funny. That's the way I've kind of developed it. So anyway, this is I think hopefully you'll find it funny, but we were he was edifying me one time, yeah, being real positive, real encouraging. real loving. And I said, well, careful, God, I'm going to have to go find me a patch of water and go walk on it.
Wow.
Whereupon he said, well, go ahead, but I would make sure it isn't too deep. I just laughed so hard I almost peed in my pants. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard. He does that. I wish I could remember. I should have written down all the times he's done stuff like that.
I'm sure they'll come to you in the future, so whenever you remember one, you just have to write it down so you can relay it
Keep
to
a
us.
journal. Yeah.
So
Wow.
getting back to, okay, that's great experiences of knowing how you can talk with God. I mean, that is
Right.
phenomenal. I haven't reached that level yet. But, and you're seeing, so you have your angel that you're talking with, and you can see him too, right?
You know, actually a little bit. I think maybe I could, but not real clearly. It was
Okay.
more I could hear him. And I might have gotten, it might not, I can't remember. I don't think if I saw him it was very clear.
At that time.
At that time.
Right.
So basically, I went to a Jay Bartlett seminar, and I've been able to start seeing the spirit too, which is a whole other topic for another story. But my ability to see in the spirit seems to be growing along with it.
Yeah.
So I went to a Jay Bartlett seminar. All of a sudden, I could see clearly, like everything was going on. I could see Jesus show
Okay,
up.
now, give me a time period here. Was that February this year, or
Yeah,
February or March?
it was
Somewhere
right around there. Yeah,
Around
exactly.
February
Right
this
about
year.
January.
Okay, so this is June right now, so we're talking February, March, April, May, so less than 5 months ago.
Right,
Is
exactly.
when you first could really see clearly in the spirit.
Right. Well, I could see clearly building up to it, and then I could see had moments of visions. It started out I'd see images,
Okay.
and then all right. Real quickly, what happened was this was about a year ago. I had a roommate that got a call. She can see things, or at least give words, and they wanted to invite her to the Encinitas Street Fair to give words.
Okay.
And she said, "Why don't we want to go? But how about we send Tom?" Tom? I've never even seen in the spirit. I had one short word of a sentence, and I wasn't sure about that. And that's all I'd had. No visions, no nothing. And God said, "Tom, I want you to go." I said, "Go? I can't see anything." He says, "I want you to go. I promise I'll back you up." And so I did. And I literally had never seen a vision. I had one word I gave to my roommate, which was like one sentence. And that was it. Never had anything spiritual in the sense like that.
But you were talking with God.
I was talking with
obviously.
him, but I couldn't see. Yeah, but I couldn't see
You
things.
see him, right.
So
So
he
this
s-
was before your 4 months where you weren't talking with God.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
Yeah.
that,
So this
okay.
is shortly after, within a few months of actually starting to talk with him.
Okay.
And so basically, so I went to the Encinitas Street Fair and I said, "God, this is going to be embarrassing. You're going to sit down and I'm not going to see anything." And I said, "Well, the worst case scenario, I look like an idiot. You know, I figure what I got to lose." So I sat down. The other lady started talking. There were like 3 of us there. And so I wasn't under pressure. And then all of a sudden, images would pop into my head. And that was the first time it happened. I see like an image. And I say, "Whoa," and I describe it. I remember one time, this lady who starts talking, and I saw this image of a tree. A big bushy tree, a big huge tree. And I thought to myself, a tree? What does a tree have to do with it? Well, you want to be strong, or you want to be wooden, or I had no idea what a tree meant. So I just sat there and said, "I don't know what the tree means. I'm sorry. It's just a tree." I think, how many things going to be like a tree going to be memorable to somebody? But anyway, she didn't say anything. And at the end of the thing, she told me that trees were really powerful to her, that she'd seen an image once of a tree, had sawed it out, put it on an emblem, it was really powerful. She said she didn't react, but her jaw dropped when I'd said that.
Wow.
And it went on.
Wow.
I sat there for 2 days, maybe 5 or 6 hours each day. Must have seen 50 or 60 people, had images every single time,
Wow.
and just pop into my
Wow.
head, and I related. And I had
Wow.
went from 0 to 60 with no background. Why? In my opinion, I took a severe chance. He said, I sat down with no ability, and boom. There's even one time, this is one of the better visions. I was at a men's breakfast. They met this guy, been talking to him for 20 minutes, never seen him before. He told me he'd had a vision, and it was a life-altering vision. His back was healed miraculously at that time. It happened like 3 or 4 years ago,
Okay.
and it was incredible. And I got a vision. They were talking in front of the group, and I told him what it was. And his jaw dropped. He said, "Tom, you just reproduced the vision exactly."
Okay, well, let's get back
Okay,
to the
now we're back.
angels.
Okay.
We have a good background here. Okay, so you started seeing angels.
I went to Jay's seminar. I could see clearly like a movie. I had a couple of instances close to a movie. This is the first time it just proceeded.
At his seminar there.
At a seminar, I didn't have to
Right.
work at it. I saw Jesus. I saw angels. Everything he was saying happening. I was just watching it like a movie. It was cool. Now again, not open-eyed, but still clarity's fairly good.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I walked away saying, "Wow, that was amazing. It's the first time it's been that easy."
I mean, just to give one example, so they can get more specific on this, because Jay works really in getting demons out of people.
Right.
And it's a whole nother subject, and that's really interesting too. But one of the things he does is he puts a ring of fire around them.
Right.
But you saw that exactly.
I saw
you
the
were
fire.
telling me.
Yeah. I would see bloodlines. He'd say, Jesus, I want you to send this person to Jesus, like a child or something like who had been injured during a time. And Jesus would appear, pick up the child, and see them. Angels, I want you to grab the person and this demon. I see angels grabbing the demon and wrestling with it. And I saw like a warrior angels, big beefy guys with pikes and swords, and kind of guys you do not want to get on the wrong side of. They'd stick their pikes into the demons, and the pikes would be red hot, and it would burn the demons. The demons would be forced to comply.
Wow.
I saw chains move around them. I saw Jay once put like walls, planes of fire around this demon, so it was like in a box. And the planes came together, and the demon started to scream because of the pain. Because basically, it's like they were being forced to comply because of the pain.
Okay.
And like
Because the heat of the fire.
the heat of the fire, or the pain of the burningness of the light, or I see angels sing. I mean, there's several videos of me doing that. They'll be uploaded. You can watch them, where he actually recorded me singing in the spirit to give you a taste of what I'm talking about. But anyway, so back to the original question: all right? So I went to that seminar. First time I saw like that, it was cool. It was on a Sunday. Next Monday, I was sitting up at Habit Burger, right in the corner of it, right near where I live. And basically, I was sitting outside in a table, just as about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I felt a tense feeling of love kind of pass through me, which is not too unusual because I can feel that a lot, but I did feel it. And then this motorcycle made a left turn. It was like on a little street, little intersection inside the shopping center. And this motorcycle made a left turn, and there was an angel, with his arms around the guy driving in. And it was clear. I mean, it wasn't open eye clear, but I could see the outline of the angel. It was white, and could tell the sex of it. And I said, "That's creepy." I said, "Why?" And then the bunch of about 4 or 5 people walked by, and each one of them there was like an angel right next to them. And I kind of saw the angel, and I nodded at him, and he nodded back, and I said, "Whoa!" So I was standing there, and this elderly lady came out. And she was on a walker, and then the angel was right behind her, walking slowly with his hands cupping the elbows of the lady, like he was assisting her.
Wow.
And I see a car drive by with a single driver, and there's an angel sitting in the other seat. I see 2 people drive by, front and back, and there are 2 angels sitting in the back seat. It was clear.
So what you're saying is we actually do have guardian angels.
Yeah, with us all the time,
Wow.
constantly. And
Wow.
I saw one.
So right now there's 3 angels right here,
there
right?
are indeed, and it may be another one, but
Cool.
So it was wild. I even saw this lady come in. She made a left turn, and she wasn't paying attention. There was another. I was sitting right at the table, 20 yards from the intersection,
Right.
And another car was making a right turn, and she wasn't watching where she was going, and they would have intersected. And the angel was sitting in the driver passenger side. He reached out with his left hand and kind of hit her in the chest, like put his hand out, and I could see her face all of a sudden startle, and then see the car and hit her brakes.
Wow.
And it was wild.
Wow.
And so then everyone was walking by, and I was seeing it, and I said, "Oh, that's amazing." And then I remember I was there for a while. I was just like, "Oh boy, everybody had angels walking around." So then I walked home, and I saw a little child, a 3-year-old child, climbing on this stone planter, and the angel was standing right behind her, kind of with his hands on his shoulders, steadying her.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. I
That
mean,
is so
it was
cool.
cool. So I'm a chiropractor. I pray for my patients. And I take that back. And I have sometimes. I was standing there.
Wait. What do you mean you take it back? Because I know you are
Well,
a
no, no,
chiropractor
well,
and you
no.
do pray for your patients.
Take it back.
Well, what I mean is I'm getting a little out of sequence. Okay, I went home, I went down to the chiropractor. Or what was practice? I was treating a woman.
Okay.
She was on the table.
Okay.
What I do is I do a normal treatment, like a chiropractic treatment. Then I put my hands on somebody. I can do it 15 minutes to a half an hour, depends on the Holy Spirit. I put worship music on, and I can feel the Holy Spirit go through me into the person, conveying love, and I've had people get off the table with visions and all sorts of cool stuff. So anyway, basically I prayed for her, and I looked up, and there was her angel standing right to the left of me, standing there at the corner, and she was kind of like laying there, and my hands on her, and I said, well, I said in my mind, verbally, I thanked her for, No, she said, "Thank you, Tom, for your love and generosity." And I kind of jumped back a little bit, not literally, but it was surprised. then I went ahead and thanked her for her. I thanked her and her brethren for everything that they have done and have done and are doing for us. And I was real heartfelt because I felt that they do a lot of thankless job. They can't see us. And she smiled and said, "Thank you, Tom." And it was the neatest thing. She was a really attractive lady.
The angel.
The angel. Yeah, I could tell. It was funny.
Wow.
I guess I haven't seen a bad-looking angel yet, but she was particularly pretty. At least I thought so. Or it's kind of funny. I don't know if I see it. I just knew it. But she reached up and kind of gently went like this. Like, you know how some women sometimes will gently cup your face as a form of affection? Yeah. And I tell you, I don't know if I could feel it or just the idea of it. And of course, she was an attractive angel, so. You know.
Do it all you want, yeah.
And she basically started talking to me. And at that point on, every time I could look at somebody, I could see their angel. I had a couple times where people would come up to me. And there was a buddy of mine I used to meet at Starbucks, and the angel would always come up and talk to me and tell me things. And at this time they'd ask me to say hello or to be patient, or they were always their advocate, and it was wild. I mean, I've been out places, and I'll be sitting there, and I'll hear a voice, and I says, "Hi, this is Tom," and it's usually with someone I know that I'll see the angel with, but not always.
Okay.
And then, you know, I was driving with some buddy of mine once. There were 4 of us in the car, and his angel. We'd driven quite a bit together. And I could see them. And normally the angels don't like to release their name to you until you get to know them. I think the names have power, and I don't think they don't want to frivolously release their name to someone who's just interested frivolously. So we were with my friends, and then basically the angels were in the car, and they were talking, and I'd translate. And then one of the angels, each angel has a different personality. It's funny, but they're completely different. And this one guy was a clown. And
the one angel.
Yeah, and he would be cracking jokes, and I said, my friend had this small car, you know, and he's a big guy, about 6'2", maybe 300 pounds, so it was crowded anyway. So we're in there, and I figured all these angels. I said, "Well, heck, where are you guys sitting?" You know, he said, "He's not getting kind." Yeah, he says, "I'm sitting up here with my head out the top, and I'm getting bugs in my teeth." You know, he was a little bit. He was a little crass, this guy, but he was hilarious. Maybe because there's 3 guys in the car, and we were going along, and he says, "If anybody farts, I'm going to strike you with lightning." So, I know this stuff is for our female persuasion. This might sound kind of crass,
okay,
but
let's get back to this car. So you got 3 guys and their angels in the car.
Yeah, so it's crowded.
So you got
six people.
People.
And I'm seeing them like doubled, and I said, "How are you going to do this? Just like a Pinto or not some sort of small car."
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. Tom has lots. I mean, ever since that time, he's been seeing angels and talking to angels all the time. So we got lots and lots more stories to tell you, but that's probably enough for one vision here. So join us in the future. Thank you.